This is so convenient. I love this. The ring light came with a little clicker that I can just use to start and stop recording on my phone whenever I feel so old and out of touch. Whoa. Ignore that. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly. This wasn't new to me. I'm not excited by this at all. I'm very chill. Where was I? Hey, hello, my name is JoJo and welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new here, welcome. I thought that a really good way to just keep up with how I'm doing in school and keep up with what I'm doing in the program, I thought a really good way to do that would be just like monthly updates on everything that I have going on. This is also particularly for my family because they say I don't talk to them as frequently as I should. I try, but I'm just so tired all the time. So yeah, this is a good way to just keep up with everything that I'm doing and see how life is going and just life in a clinical psychology doctoral program. And so yeah, month 1, September. Here we go. All right, so I don't really have a script to follow for this. I just kind of jotted down some notes and thoughts about what the first month has been like so far. And I guess I'll just talk through and about those things. This is gonna be really awkward. Okay. So I guess I'll just start with overall impressions. So if I had to use one word to sum up what the first month in the program was like, it would be chaos. Yeah, it has been, is currently, and probably will be for some time, kind of chaotic. So the first like 2 weeks of the program were kind of just me trying to get settled and trying to get into like a groove and a routine. And every time I felt like, okay, this routine that I have laid out is like doable, then they would like throw something else in the mix, and then I'd have to like start over and try to like fit that into a new routine somehow. And so it's been chaotic. I know I did a video about the orientation that happened. I think it was like the week before classes started. Turns out we had a second orientation about 3 weeks into the program, so like 2 weeks ago. That was essentially just like a secondary introduction to the program that was less focused on, yay, you made it here, you're gonna be therapists, and more like, okay, so now that we're done celebrating you getting into the program, here's everything you need to do for the next 4 years to make sure that you actually make it. And it was basically just like the DCT trying to help us set a trajectory. Whoa. Trying to help us set a trajectory for ourselves for the next like 4 or 5 years. This is where she kind of introduced to us the fact that we can try to finish the program in 4 or 5 years. So essentially the program itself consists of 60 credits of coursework in addition to all of the clinical training and supervision and, experience that we get, plus externship and the 1-year internship that we have to do. If you're going to try to complete 60 credits in a very standard sense, it's about 4 years worth of coursework. And so the encouraged path is to do those 4 years of coursework and then do your internship in your 5th year, so that like hopefully you're done doing data collection for your dissertation and you're closer to defending it and writing up papers and all of that good stuff. In doing that, the goal is for you to be less stressed in your 5th year while you're on internship, because I've heard that it can be pretty intense and they emphasize that it can be intense. But for the really, really impatient little student who insists on just chugging along and pushing through, you can complete 4 years worth of coursework in 3, and then go on internship in your 4th year instead of your 5th year. However, that comes with a lot of extra challenges, like the fact that you now have to cram 60 credits worth of coursework into 3 years, and then also making sure that you're as close to finishing and defending your dissertation as possible before going on internship, because being on internship and still being in the process of collecting data is really hard. So yeah, I thought about it for like 10 seconds and decided that I'm going with the 5-year plan. So I'll be in school for 4 years, I'll go on internship in my 5th year, and then I'll take it from there. I'm not trying to cause myself any more stress than I already have. I am also a very anxious person. I have panic disorder, and so just anything to lessen my stress and anxiety is probably what's best for me right now. So yeah, I will be doing the 5-year plan. Yeah. In terms of clinical training, that's been where a lot of the chaos is coming from. So again, in my original orientation recap video, I mentioned that our training clinic just got a new director. And so it's kind of been like a learning curve for all of us. She's coming into the program, you know, fresh face, fresh open mind, fresh new ideas and opinions. And then also trying to figure out how the training clinic has been running up until this point, and trying to incorporate both new ideas into that process, but then also trying to revamp and improve on old processes that have been in place for quite some time that we're starting to realize are not working in this new age, this new space of, you know, psychology and providing therapy in the, you know, world that we live in now, in the climate that we live in now. So that's been a little bit bumpy. But the bright side is that I have been doing phone screens for potential clients, and I just had my first intake session this past week, and so I will be moving forward with that client, my first official client, in this upcoming week, and we'll be having my first session with them, and I'm so excited and nervous, but mostly excited. And then I have my second intake with a client coming up next week, and hopefully I will be able to move forward with that client as well. So I don't know if I mentioned this in a previous video, but in the training clinic, you start off with 2 psychodynamic clients, and then in your second semester, you add a CBT client to that. And we work with each client for a total of 20 sessions, regardless of if the semester ends or not. So I will probably be seeing both of my psychodynamic clients well into the spring semester and maybe even the summer. And then I'll be adding my CBT client to that, and we'll probably be seeing them well into the summer, if not maybe even the start of the fall semester of next year. And so that's all really exciting, but it's also really like intense and nerve-wracking, because essentially like starting to see clients, you know, only a month into the program, it's really kind of just like being thrown into the deep end of the pool. And they explain that they do that for a good reason. It's not because they want us to sink and because they want us to drown and fail and be terrible therapists. It's because they want to put us in the role of being a therapist with as little external influence as possible on who we are as therapists. And they really want us to develop that on our own and kind of grow into our styles individually through working with patients and kind of just finding ourselves that way. And I think I really appreciate that to an extent. I appreciate that because I like being given the space to grow into myself and grow into who I am as a therapist, but also I think that there's a lot of questions on the student's part that comes with that, and it leads to a lot of confusion. Is that the word I'm looking for? No, yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. Confusion. I feel like that's the best way I can explain it right now. It leads to a lot of confusion because a lot of our questions go unanswered because they don't want to influence how we behave with clients. So good and bad, but ultimately it serves a purpose. I'm trying to keep that in mind going into my first session with a client next week. I'm hoping to kind of just go in and do what it is I feel like I already kind of naturally do, and kind of just seeing where that takes me, and hopefully it leads in a positive direction. I've already had a couple of conversations with this client. I did both their phone screen and their intake session, and so I'm kind of already familiar with like what they're coming to the clinic with, and so hopefully this will lead in a positive direction and I don't completely and I don't do or say anything terribly wrong. Okay, so classes. I am taking 4 classes right now, one of which is kind of sort of a class, but not really. It's practicum, which is essentially like supervision kind of for the clients that I'm working with through the training clinic. So in addition to practicum, I'm taking 3 actual classes, which are psychodynamic theory and therapy, diagnostic testing, and diagnostic interviewing. Psychodynamic theory and therapy has 2 components. So there is the class component, very didactic, very much like read these articles, come to class with discussion questions, we'll talk about them. And then the second half of that is like talking about what it means to implement these theories into clinical practice, and then also having group supervision with that professor and a few other members of my cohort, where we talk about like the clients that we're seeing in the training clinic as well. So there's that. And then diagnostic interviewing, which is essentially just us learning how to interview clients. That's really all it is. Both like clinical interviewing, but then also interviewing like if we were to like be interviewing with the purpose of determining whether or not a patient or client needs to be, hospitalized or stuff like that. The complementary class to diagnostic interviewing is diagnostic testing, where we are going to be learning a bunch of administrative tests that they use to test varying aspects of someone's mental, intellectual ability. Right now we're learning the WICE-4 or WACE. Right now we're learning the WACE-4, which is a pretty widely used test for diagnostic reasons. And so with the WICE, I keep saying WICE, it's WACE, WACE, WAIS, WACE. So with the WACE, we get a testing volunteer who is a student from the school who is volunteering to sit through these very long testing sessions to help us get practice doing it in a semi-real world setting. And so I have a testing client as well that I will be seeing in the upcoming weeks. So yeah, that's my classes. And then as far as outside of school, so in your first year of our program, you can opt in or opt out of doing what they call a mini externship, which is essentially an externship just for like a shorter amount of time, I believe, and for like less days per week. I wouldn't know because I opted out of doing the mini externship, but for a good reason. So through my primary lab in the program, I have been working with a bunch of other students in the lab on a peer-to-peer intervention called Problem Management Plus, PM Plus. And so I completed a training to be a PM Plus helper over the summer, knowing that after the training, there is a post-training supervisory experience that you have to do to complete the training, which is essentially you get 1 or 2 clients plus supervision for the duration of the time you are working with those clients. I will also be receiving a PM Plus client to work with very soon, hopefully. And so that will bring the total number of clients up to, for this semester, 4. So exciting. Okay, and then on top of all of that, I am still in the process of data collecting for my thesis, my master's thesis that I had to do in order to get into the program. So still data collecting. We'll probably be done data collecting by the end of the semester so that I can start data analysis and start writing up some papers. Hopefully I'll be published soon. I don't know. Who knows? Publishing takes a while. Anyway, but yeah, so overall, huge time commitment. I have so little free time. In total, I am taking 4 classes. 2 of those classes have TA sessions, one of which is like the group supervision that I mentioned. And then I also have like actual supervision. And then I have my 2 psychodynamic clients that I will be working with, and my testing volunteer that I will be working with, and then eventually my PM Plus client that I will be working with. I TA for an undergraduate course and am also doing my own work for my thesis. And so I overall am just chronically exhausted. Oh, and I'm still trying to like regularly upload on YouTube because I genuinely want to continue doing this, and I don't want this to fall to the wayside because it's something that I think is really necessary and needed. And so I'm just so tired. So family, if I'm not calling you, if I'm not texting you, it is probably because I managed to find 2 hours to take a sleep. And so I need to sleep. I said take a sleep. I managed to find time to sleep. Was I gonna say take a nap? Naps too, but never 2 hours. More like 2 minutes. I legitimately take like 5-minute naps when I'm on the train. It's glorious, but also miserable at the same time. But yeah, so that's my life currently. That will probably continue to be my life for at least this first year. But it's, like I said, it's super exciting. I'm loving the work that I'm doing, despite how miserable the process of doing the work is. The actual work is something that I love and I'm very passionate about. And so I'm powering through it. And yeah, so that's been my life. There you go. Thank you for watching, especially if you made it all the way to the end. I really appreciate it. Family, if you're watching, I love you. I will call you. I promise. I will text you. I promise. And yeah. Leave a comment down below if I don't know how to end this video because I didn't talk about anything helpful. I just talked about my life. Leave a comment, any comment. I don't know, whatever you want to say, I'll read it. As always, like, comment, subscribe, click the notification button so you don't miss my next upload. My next upload will be a useful video. Hopefully a useful video. Wow. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one.